we got lucky with some really talented actors, and I think that helps to contribute to a really wonderful legacy.
Boy Meets World was a coming-of-age sitcom released in 1993 featuring 11-year-old Corey Matthews. The show not only connected with viewers at the time, debuting to a whopping 16.5 million viewers, it resonated with them for years to come, spawning both a sequel series and a popular rewatch podcast featuring the original actors.
I think one of the greatest takeaways from Boy Meets World was that you don't need to be blood to be family. And I think that's something that we have discovered throughout the course of our lives. We are not related by blood, but we are absolutely family.
A feat, by the way, not accomplished by other big TGIF hits like Step by Step, Family Matters, and Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which begs the question, why? What uniquely about this show connected so powerfully with viewers and stuck with them all these years later?
Give me your hand.
Why?
I want to see if our energies converge.
The genius of Boy Meets World began in a surprising place. It wasn't just created for light entertainment, it was created to solve a problem. So in 1993, ABC was on the verge of losing a popular and lucrative demographic from their successful Friday night lineup, 12 to 14-year-olds. Executives found that their goofball sitcom Dinosaurs had hit a home run with this group. But Dinosaurs was very expensive to produce due to the maintenance of the animatronic characters, and executives also moved it to different time slots, hurting its success. And indeed, it was canceled, leaving ABC without a show to appeal to their stranded junior high viewers. What did they do? Dinosaurs creator Michael Jacobs noticed that family shows at the time focused primarily on the oldest children or adults. For example, Michael J. Fox on Family Ties, Kirk Cameron on Growing Pains. But Jacobs had an idea. He said, what if we put one of these kids from that junior high demographic and made them the star of the show? What if instead of focusing on the traditional oldest child, we focused instead on the often forgotten middle child?
I think I'm being a kid, Ma. I think I'm living up to my responsibility of being 11 years old.
Hey, no.
So they wrote the pilot, and when it came time to cast, executives already had 12-year-old Ben Savage on their radars. Before he got the lead role of Corey, Ben had already earned critical praise in an impressive number of roles. Like in addition to appearing in an episode of his older brother Fred's coming-of-age show, The Wonder Years.
Hey, you. Me? Yeah, you 7th grader? Yes, sir.
He landed a recurring role on the comedy series Little John, and notably widespread acclaim for his performance on a miniseries for ABC called Wild Palms.
Those father knows best days are over. Only fathers know best.
Since Ben was already under contract with ABC, and in addition to his acting chops, Jacobs recalls, he was somebody I respected and extraordinarily fond of. So it all came together for Ben to take the lead role and carry a show of his own. Will Friedle, who played Eric, remarks,
One of the things that strikes me as I'm rewatching these episodes is he can carry the show.
Absolutely.
He really can carry the show. You watch him the whole time.
Yep.
He's like a little stand-up comedian.
Yes.
And he really can carry the weight on his shoulders.
It truly is remarkable,
For
yeah.
a 12-year-old actor, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Similarly, ABC didn't have to look far to cast another important role. A short-lived TGIF show called Julie featured Julie Andrews and a very young Ryder Strong.
What happened? Where does it hurt?
Yesterday, the guys were calling me Wrong Way McGuire.
Fortunately for us, it was canceled after just 6 episodes, opening his schedule to play Corey's street-smart but not-so-book-smart best friend Sean Hunter. But even after finding stellar cast members for the remaining roles, the show almost never made it to air. Ryder Strong recalls,
The pilot, when we shot the pilot, when you guys weren't there, we did a table read and the network hated it. And the network immediately made Michael rewrite it. And Bill Daniels said, I'm not doing this kids show, and threatened to quit. And Michael Jacobs rewrote the pilot from start to finish. It was a completely different script. I would love to get my hands on it. It still involved Romeo and Juliet, but it did not have any of this other stuff. And Michael Jacobs, the lore is that he wrote it in one night. And I think that might be true. Rewrote the entire pilot.
and the resulting pilot wasn't just good, it was a hit.
Smalls delivers, Dalton swings. Oh, he got a piece of that one. It's a long drive, deep to center. Otis Nixon back to the warning track, climbs up the wall, and...
Even without much publicity, as Will Friedle notes, the show did very well in its first season and was quickly renewed for a second. Why? Now, while it could be argued, like an article in the Baltimore Sun at the time said, predicting Nielsen's success for Boy Meets World is not a particularly daring or incisive call. It's mainly based on scheduling and stars. I disagree with the critic. Many TGIF shows were given prime slots with big stars and were quickly canceled, like Odd Man Out, Baby Talk, Family Man, and I Married Dora, among others. The main reason Boy Meets World succeeded is that, in addition to the dozens upon dozens of people doing their jobs very well, both on camera and behind the scenes, creator Michael Jacobs' original value proposition proved compelling. Remember, he suggested that most coming-of-age shows feature the oldest child, but Boy Meets World featured the middle child. We see this brilliance shine in the rewritten pilot episode. While most shows would have focused on older brother Eric's first date from his perspective, Boy Meets World told the story from the perspective of the forgotten younger brother, a younger brother at the exact same age as the viewing audience they were trying to target. It made kids part of the show.
But Eric, going to the Phillies game's like our special thing.
Corey, I'm trying to get a special thing going with Heather. Now look, you could be happy for me and accept this like a mature guy, or you can...
They can often feel invisible or forgotten, which was a central theme of the pilot. Centering an entire show around the middle child made a historically underserved demographic feel seen. We got to see his awkward first kiss. We got to hear Corey's voice change.
She looks so pretty, Mom, and there we were all alone in the back room at Chubby's.
Watching Corey and his friends navigate life in all its forms, romance, family, friends, Boy Meets World delivered something more personal than entertainment. It delivered validation. One episode that demonstrates this powerfully and hit me particularly strongly as a child was an episode where Sean joins a cult. This episode felt memorable for two main reasons. First, it worked well on Boy Meets World because of Sean's central desire to belong somewhere. His unstable family life had been well established on the show, juxtaposed against Corey's super stable family life, so it wasn't so far-fetched for Sean to take interest in an attractive girl's invitation to this place, the Center.
Hello.
Welcome to the Center.
Now, a main character joining a cult wouldn't have worked so well on other TGIF shows, right? It's a little hard to imagine Steve Urkel heading down to the cult building between robot experiments, or little Stephanie after a honeybee meeting. Although they did have to make that pledge.
I pledge my love and loyalty to all the hive and every bee.
The second reason this episode felt powerful is because 1993 was both the year Boy Meets World debuted and the year David Koresh, leader of the infamous Branch Davidians cult in Waco, Texas, died after authorities raided his compound after a 51-day standoff. Living in Houston myself just a few hours from the site where 76 people died, the Waco massacre was still in the zeitgeist where I lived even a few years later when the Boy Meets World episode aired. That was the sort of imagery in the back of our minds as Sean's loyalty for the Center increased. After Alan shoves the leader of the cult in protection of Sean, and a touching scene with Sean's mentor, Mr. Turner, the show did something significant. Not only was it a character development for Sean, but it reached all members of families watching. According to Variety magazine, Boy Meets World achieved #1 in ratings in its Friday night time slot, not just among kids, but 18 to 49-year-olds.
It touched on themes that people could relate to. Relationships, growing up. It really sparked something in people.
Now, that's not to say everything on the show went perfectly. Corey's younger sister Morgan, for example, played by Lily Nixay, was missing during all of Season 3 until she was replaced by Lindsay Ridgway, who appears kind of randomly in Episode 14. Several of the actors shared about this experience on an episode of their podcast, Pod Meets World.
Well, I think there was some issues that had to do with growing up.
Yeah.
And
it's possible Lily didn't necessarily want to be a child actor.
Yeah, I'm not sure
time.
she was very happy at the time.
Yeah.
And Michael Jacobs, to his credit, could see that.
Mm-hmm.
And he, decided what was best personally.
Yeah.
For her.
Was to let her go.
Was to, let her try something else.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
This did happen to a lot of shows in the 90s, like the moms on Family Matters and Fresh Prince, Jerry's father on Seinfeld, Carol on Friends, and many others. Also, the show had some trouble figuring out secondary characters during its first season. Although I didn't notice it as a child, in the first season, they originally had Corey and Sean with a third friend. There was Chauncey Leopardi from The Sandlot, Diwan Guy, and a nerdy character named Stuart Minkus, played by Lee Norris.
Go ahead. Make me wet.
Some episodes featured Minkus as a friend and others as an enemy, so it wasn't always clear how viewers should feel about him since his moral alliance was unpredictable against the backdrop of the very morally predictable environment of TGIF. He was ultimately cut after season 1 due to a network decision. That's not to say fans didn't love him. He made an appearance 4 years later at Graduation and appears in several episodes of the spin-off series Girl Meets World. In fact, the show's actors playfully refer to this third friend seat as the death chair, since whoever sat in it seemed to be cut from the show.
This is essentially why the death chair was there, right? Yeah. It's because they were trying to find that character that would pop. And,
that chemistry, you're just trying to find it. Yeah.
And I mean,
and it was great for a while.
I think until Topanga shows up, a lot of the school
changed the whole thing.
Changed the whole thing.
Topanga showing up changes the whole thing. Which is
and all of this is coming back from what they're feeling from audiences.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's done in a vacuum.
Exactly. Feedback.
And then it's just you find what a lot of times you don't know till you do it. It's like everything. You try it and see what's working or not. And that's the interesting thing about doing a TV show every week, as opposed to a movie where you just do it and put it out there and see what's happening, and then you can edit with it. But every week you have this living, growing thing that you're taking information from the audience, from the writers, and seeing how it moves.
The big upside to this experimentation is that it led to some of the show's most welcome changes. No better example comes from the character of older brother Eric Matthews.
Mr. Feeney? Mr. Feeney? Mr. Feeney!
Although he ended up as one of the most beloved characters on the show, it didn't start that way. In season 1, Eric was the typical athletic, girl-obsessed older brother, too cool for Corey. While this elicited empathy from viewers towards the younger, more innocent Corey, the untouchable, uncaring nature of Eric's character made him feel out of reach and perhaps even conflicted with the feel-good, buoyant tone of TGIF. And since the show would feature Eric in more and more episodes, viewers needed more reasons to care about him and connect with him. So particularly in season 4, Eric's character changed drastically. His intelligence dropped, and he became more silly and upbeat. This turned out to be the right move for the show, as actor Will Friedle's endlessly silly antics mixed with his razor-sharp wit, plus his impressive comedic range, bolstered the show's cheery feel.
Ow! Hey, what? What? Hey! Ow!
Ow! Dude, let's go.
Some fans have speculated that this change occurred due to Eric's character experiencing a head trauma in season 4.
He's okay. He's just got a little knock on the head.
Hey, Mommy. Hey, Daddy. Oh, poor horsey.
But Friedle says the real reason is, when I started the show, as an actor, I was terrible.
It's very stiff, obviously, and I have no idea what to do with my hands, and it's very awkward, the first scene. But the scene where I come back and I'm acting, and I'm like, newsflash, I'm not cool. It's the worst thing ever.
You're so hard on yourself. Like, kids sitcom acting wasn't much better overall.
Every single person in that show was better than me. Every single one.
I think you're just way too hard on yourself.
No, I got better. Don't get me wrong. I certainly got better. But that first episode, that was painful for me to watch. It was like, I am acting now.
And then as he started to loosen up and take it in a different direction, the writers embraced it.
My name is Plays with Squirrels. Perfect.
Second, Danielle Fishel wasn't originally cast for the role of Topanga. The original actress was let go for not getting the performance quite right. Then Danielle auditioned, and while she got it, she shares the story of just how distressing it was at first.
After I get that phone call on Friday night, yay, I got the part. Show back up on Monday as Topanga. I did. I showed up on Monday as Topanga. trying to get the right tone, the right intonation, the right deliveries, the right physicality. And it was hard for me. I was a bubbly, fast talking, spunky.
You talk so fast.
You were what, 11?
I was 12.
12 years old. Yeah.
And Michael starts off the notes by saying, Danielle, I'm going to give you your notes all in one time at the end. And I'm going to give everyone else their notes now, because if I made everyone sit here through all of the notes I have for you, we would all be here for hours and no one would ever get to go home.
Then later, when it finally did come time for Jacobs to give Danielle her notes, he said this.
And maybe it wasn't in front of everybody. Maybe it was just to my mom and I. But what I know specifically was said was, all I know is if you don't come back tomorrow doing this entirely differently, you are also not going to be here.
But being the rock star she was and is, she stayed up all night with her mom to rework her performance and arrived at the character we love today.
He's vibrationally acceptable.
She begins the series as a hippie flower child, and eventually Topanga evolves into something closer to Danielle's real-life self, more bubbly, fast-talking, and friendly. But her kindness and loyalty never wavered.
And that I've known you as long as I've known Corey. So you're not just my boyfriend's friend. You're my friend, too.
And so the show experienced a great deal of trial and error over the years, and it's through this imperfect process that gave the show its memorable flow. For example, fans vividly remembered the Harley Kiner episodes with a recurring role by a young Adam Scott, the Mr. Turner episodes, and of course the additions of recurring characters Angela, Rachel, and Jack, who simply defined the college years. Another savvy move for Boy Meets World can be seen in its celebrity guest stars. They cleverly worked in a number of celebrity guests that as children perhaps we didn't recognize. I mean, I didn't know who Cheap Trick was at the time, but our parents sure did. For example, Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones from The Monkees, Phyllis Diller in a Halloween episode, Soupy Sales playing a member of the Mafia, and interestingly, both Ben Savage's real-life older brother and star of The Wonder Years, Fred, appears as a predatory teacher.
Stuart, you're making me uncomfortable. I want you to leave.
That's not what you want.
What?
And Dan Lauria, who played the father on The Wonder Years, appears as a judge. Most important of all, many of us children didn't realize that Mr. Feeney himself was something of a celebrity, a 2-time Emmy winner for his role on St. Elsewhere, and famously the voice of Kit on Knight Rider.
I am the voice of Knight Industry 2000's microprocessor, KITT for easy reference.
Daniels had a remarkable ability to bring depth and warmth to any scene. This was another intentional and brilliant casting decision for the show.
I believe that when you find love, you hold on to it and cherish it, because there is nothing finer, and it may never come again. And that, my dears, is the most important thing that I could teach you.
William Daniels wasn't a stand-up comic or the kind of actor who played for laughs. He was a serious, award-winning dramatic actor, and the authenticity he brings to the role shines in all his scenes, comedy or otherwise. And fans will never forget his final scene, which made the real actors cry.
Never give up on me. Never once.
And again years later during an interview.
It is not a true reunion without Mr. Feeney, so we've got a surprise for you guys. Take a look.
I can't believe it's been almost 30 years since we first started Boy Meets World. You know, I still love you all. Class dismissed.
Oh my wow, Mr. Feeney, what do you think of that?
Well, thanks for making me cry. Hello, morning. Hello.
And as if we needed any more reason to love him, his Emmy Award-winning wife in real life, Bonnie Bartlett, played the dean of Pembroke College and romantic interest for Mr. Feeney. As of this video, they've been married for over 71 years. At the center of Boy Meets World, the glue that holds everything together, is the romantic story of Corey and Topanga.
Way to go, Topanga!
Boy Meets World is one of the few shows that treated a junior high romance seriously, which is exactly how it feels to be a junior high kid in love. How did they do this? How did writers make this young relationship feel so authentic, compelling, and wholesome at the same time? Creator Jacob speaks to this. We did things out of our own lives. We didn't invent anything. We told stories that were the truth of what had happened to us and what our aspirations were and what we wanted, perfect love and perfect life, and what are the hurdles we put in our own way. In a world where young love is often shrugged off or minimized by adults, it felt refreshing as a viewer for Corey and Topanga's love to be taken seriously. In this way, Boy Meets World reflected back to kids that their feelings were important, bringing us back to one of Boy Meets World's key gifts to young viewers, validation.
I do my thing and you do your thing. You are you and I am I. And if in the end we end up together, it's beautiful.
The thing that often gets in Corey's way of his love for Topanga is often himself. No such hurdle was more memorable than the time Corey's class went on a ski trip in season 5. He sprains his ankle getting off the bus, and lodge employee Lauren keeps him company. They stay up all night talking, and she kisses him. As Corey leaves, Lauren gives him a letter professing her feelings for him, which he mistakenly loses and Topanga finds. This was doubly bad since he already confessed to one lie but didn't tell her about the kiss. Topanga reads the letter, and we end the episode with her disappointed in Corey, and it isn't clear whether things will work out. From a writing perspective, it's nice that the show didn't attempt to button everything up nicely in 30 minutes like other sitcoms of the time, which gives more weight or substance to Corey and Topanga's romance. Sean arranges for Corey and Topanga to meet at local eatery Chubby's to work things out, but when Lauren unexpectedly shows up, wondering why Corey never responded to her letter, it's at this moment that Topanga arrives. When she sees that Lauren has come to pursue Corey, she leaves. Corey realizes he still does have feelings for Lauren, who has now earned the favor of Corey's friends and family, decides to go on a date with Lauren to figure out who he wants to be with. When he chooses Topanga, viewers expected the two to reunite as they had done every time in the prior 5 seasons. That's when Topanga drops the unexpected.
Corey, I can't see you anymore.
What?
Do you have any idea how many guys hit on me?
We're then forced to wait several episodes, which remember when they first aired was a week between episodes, to find out what happens, during which we get a parody of the movie Scream, Corey gets depressed and decides to drink, an Eric episode, and all of these were very entertaining to be fair, and finally, Topanga goes on a date with an attractive boy, she realizes her love for Corey, and the episode ends with a long-awaited reuniting of Corey and Topanga. Boy Meets World created something lasting that remains in the hearts of viewers to this day because it delivered on its original promise, a believable, family-friendly coming-of-age story told from the perspective of the middle child. Boy Meets World teaches us that excellence doesn't always mean perfection the first time. Just like Corey's character, the show itself is beautiful not in spite of this learning and growth behind the scenes, but because of it. The genius of Boy Meets World.
I love you all. Class dismissed.